I'm the kid that's all the candy. I'm a Yankee Doodle dandy. I'm glad I am so Uncle Sam. I'm a real life Yankee Doodle, made my name in fame and boodle, just like Mr. Doodle did by riding on a pony. I'm a Yankee Doodle dandy, a Yankee Doodle do or die, a real life nephew of my Uncle Sam's, or on the 4th of July. I've got a Yankee Doodle sweetheart, she's my Yankee Doodle joy. Church bell will peal with joy, hurrah, hurrah, to welcome home our darling boy, hurrah, hurrah. The village dance lights to say with roses they will strew away. It will all feel great when Johnny comes marching home. Get ready for the Jubilee, hurrah. friendship on that day. Hurrah, hurrah. Their choices, treasures, and display. Hurrah, hurrah. And let each one perform some part to fill with joy the warriors feel great when Johnny comes marching home.
Good morning, O'Fallon. How's everybody doing today? Very good. Hey, how about a round of applause for these amazing fifth graders behind me? And it's in your program, but I've got to give our music educators a hand. Patty Bjornson, Toby Kurtwright, David Fairchild, and Cindy Matsuyasu. So a round of applause for our educators. And so that I don't forget, our amazing audiovisual support, Sean Boyer, Production Director, First Baptist Church. Sean and team. Okay, we kind of did this last year. I'm going to do it again. I just would like, before we get started, I'd like to have all the veterans in the room, if you can, stand and be recognized with a great round of applause. Please stand. Thank you. And then the greatest generation, we have some members with us here today, our World War II veterans. And I know of two, and if there are any others, I'd like you to please stand and be recognized. But we have 100-year-old, turned 100 this year, Cliff Good. Cliff was an aerial photographer on B-17s in World War II. Thank you, Cliff. Cliff is from Collinsville, and he drove himself here today. So we are honored to have you here and still serving your nation, Cliff. Thank you so much. And one of my dear friends from my church is General Bennett. General Bennett has served in 3 wars, beginning with World War II, Korea, and Vietnam. General Bennett, please stand. Do we have any other World War II veterans here today? Yeah, I got you, General Bennett. Thank you. All right, just Cliff and General Bennett. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming out. We are honored to have you here, and we believe the term that you are the greatest generation, and we can all aspire to live up to you and your example for each and every one of us. Thank you. So good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks to each of you for taking the time to honor our great American veterans on this Veterans Day. As a proud Air Force veteran, it gives me great pleasure to be your MC over this O'Fallon Veterans Day ceremony. The outstanding men and women of the O'Fallon Patriotic Services Committee have put this wonderful program together on this very special Veterans Day. Every year, the Services Committee ensures that the names of veterans throughout our community are inscribed on our very impressive, you may have seen it on Channel 2 News today, very impressive Veterans Monument during Memorial and Veterans Days. Today, we're commemorating the inscription of 11 new veterans heroes' names on that monument. We'd like to particularly thank those participating today, Mayor Herb Roche, the OTHS Air Force Junior ROTC cadets, Colonel Robert Cummings, Chaplain Daniel Chung, keynote speaker Major General Vincent Barker, VFW Post 805, TAPS players Carson Schmeckel and Elias Gregory, Miss Laurie Hartung, and the children, again, from O'Fallon's District 90 fifth grade music program. We'd like to thank everybody for their part in making today's program a total success. As you know, O'Fallon is a military community, and we have an outstanding relationship with Scott Air Force Base. the biggest employer in Southern Illinois with more than 12,000 employees. We're very proud to have many of those 12,000 employees, families, living in our amazing community here in O'Fallon, Shiloh, and around the area. And they're enrolled in our phenomenal schools. So again, it gives me great pride to participate in this beautiful ceremony honoring our veterans. I'm so thankful that I live in this country where our citizens like you honor these great American veterans on days just like this. Enjoy the ceremony. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce the Mayor of O'Fallon, the Honorable Herb Roach.
It is indeed my pleasure to be here on Veterans Day. I also want to thank the Baptist Church for allowing us to use this beautiful facility and the beautiful crowd, all of you that are here to honor our veterans. And as Woody said, our choir, the Monument Committee, everybody who has put all their work and effort into making this possible. I'd like to thank all of you for being here to recognize the importance of our veterans. You know, at one time, this was called Armistice Day. Then it was converted over to Veterans Day to honor all of our veterans, not just those that were killed during World War I when it was the honor for Armistice Day. I'm going to bring up a subject matter that a lot of people don't talk about, and that is, it is getting more and more important that we not only honor our veterans today, but that we remember them throughout the year. And we talk to them. And if we see that there's a possible problem, to reach out to see if we can help them. There's an unfortunate statistic in that since 2001, on November, the veterans that have been killed in action, or soldiers that have been killed in action, is only about a fourth of the veterans or active duty military that have committed suicide. There are easy ways that we can get them help. The simplest is calling 988, or there's so many other groups. But there's so many things that they go through and they see that they don't want to discuss or they can't talk about. And they need our help. They need that extra support. And I'm saying this not only from a point of view of just general, but I'm going to say it a little bit on a personal note, too. There was a veteran that I knew very well my whole life that I didn't discover something about until 30 years after he was dead. That was Sergeant First Class Herb Roach, Sr. About a year ago, I was going through some old material of my father's, and there was a large envelope, and I pulled out this envelope, and there's a photograph of my father in front of his company having a general pin something on him. I reached down a little further, and there was a full letter from the general explaining what had taken place. I went down a little further, and there was a box, almost sealed completely as if it was brand new. And in this box was a bronze star that had been awarded to my father, because during World War II, he was going through the islands, and there was a troop carrier that was hit and went down a ravine. All the troops inside it were trapped. My dad went down the ravine, and while going down the ravine was hitting the side, but he was able to get through and free all of the troops inside that. But never once in his lifetime did he mention that to me or to my sister. So I know that there's a lot of things, and that was something great he did, but that was something he kept to himself. So we've got a lot of veterans out there that keep so much to themselves. So I would just ask you to please, if you see somebody that you think is having a problem, help them reach out or reach out for them to get them the help that they need. With that, I will close my remarks and remind everybody that we also have our Veterans Day Parade today at 2 p.m. We'll be starting from Community Park. And God bless all of you. God bless all of our veterans. God bless our city. And God bless the United States of America. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Roach, and thank you for your service to our great nation, Mayor. I appreciate you. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the posting of the colors by the O'Fallon Township High School Air Force Junior ROTC cadets. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss O'Fallon could not be with us today, so we've asked the fifth graders to sing the national anthem, and I would like everybody in the audience to sing the national anthem also, as loud and proud as you can. Thank you. Colonel Retired Bob Cummings will now lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. And now Chaplain Chung will deliver the invocation.
Please join me in prayer. Heavenly Father, we gather here on 11th month, the 11th day and 11 hours, to remember and to honor those who serve before us and are in service at present. Countless young brave and women raised their right hand and faithfully served and still actively serving our country to defend and preserve our freedom. To search for hope in hopeless day. Some suffered physical and spiritual wounds, and some ultimately sacrificed their lives, and some have lost their loved ones. God, please remember our veterans. We ask for your healing, encouragement, and peace. I ask for your protection for all deployed members and on a mission. Please watch over them. Send your help to deployed families, members' family, where their needs are met and prayers being answered. Lord, spark and move our hearts to remember and honor the veterans. Each American owes a great debt we can never repay to our veterans for their service, sacrifice, and sincere beliefs in a better future. We have today because our hero gave their tomorrow. Remind us not to take our lives and time lightly, because of peace we cherish, it came from veterans' blood and tears. Throughout the ceremony, give us the moment where all of us may fully submerge ourselves to remember what our veterans fought for, what they believe in, what they lived, and how they lived, and their legacy. Until you call us to your heavenly home, enable and strengthen us to fulfill your purpose and mission. Give us peace and comfort rather than regrets and disappointment. Lord, let this generation remember them, learn from their brave and compassionate heart and love for this country. Let this generation pray for your wisdom so that we may walk on the right path. Let your blessing overflow through each one who hears his prayer. May your spirit guide us. Let your blessing continue so we can continuously and proudly say, God bless America. We pray in your precious name. In Jesus' name, amen.
That was awesome, Chaplain Chung. Thank you so much. And now, ladies and gentlemen, Sandra Marston will now announce the names of our newly inscribed veterans.
I'll try to be a little taller and speak up so I don't pull it down. The following names are the newly inscribed names on the Fortitude pillar. And if you happen to be in the audience today when I read your name, if you could, please just stand up and be recognized. Dwight M. Kennedy. Joseph H. Obernieferman. David L. Ebert. Glenn A. Dalton. Monty J. Hill. Joe E. Suggs, Sr. Raymond D. Holden. Sherry M. Bevert Ross. Kevin P. Hanrahan. Thomas E. Levrault. And Joseph Bozadowski. Those are our 11 newly inscribed names on the Fortitude Pillar. If I could get a show of hands for all the other veterans out there who have their names inscribed on our monument, if you would please raise your hand. Awesome. Thank you very much, and if you want more information about how to get your name inscribed on the monument, we have some information out in the lobby. Stop by. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandra. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to introduce our keynote speaker for today, Major General Vincent B. Barker. Major General Vincent B. Barker is the Chief of Staff of the United States Transportation Command, Scott Air Force Base, Illinois. He is responsible for the development of plans, policies, and procedures to ensure efficient operation and seamless interface between headquarters, staff, component commands, and subordinate organizations. He oversees command policy and programs which support the combatant commander's mission to project and sustain military power globally in order to assure our friends and allies, to deter potential adversaries, and if necessary, respond to win decisively. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, Major General Vincent Barker.
Well, good morning, everybody. Can you hear me back? Everybody, can you hear me? Okay, hey, thanks for having me again today. It's an honor. I was here last year. Who was here last year? Okay, so if I say something I said last year, just kind of act like you didn't hear it, okay? But I was honored to have him come back this year. This is a great event. O'Fallon First Baptist in the O'Fallon community, like the Colonel said, great veteran military community. We really appreciate it. And anytime I get a chance to speak on Veterans Day, especially to honor our veterans, I'm truly honored, and I'm always happy to do so. And today, we have so many awesome folks around us here, especially here at this event with the OTHS, the Junior Air Force ROTC, which is always does a phenomenal job, great job. And then these awesome, amazing fifth graders behind me did it incredible. I love to see the young folks get involved in this, right? Am I right? That's just... You know, it's so important for our young people to know what freedom is, right, and what it means. And when we say freedom is not free, that's not a cliche, that's a fact, right? And there's a lot of folks in this room that know that firsthand. And this day is for them. So, we'd be remiss. Where are the Marines in the crowd here? So happy birthday yesterday, 247, right? There you go. Good to see you. So. Stephanie and I, my wife, we're going to be attending the Marine Corps Ball over at Bally's Live in St. Louis tonight. We're looking forward to that. Thank you, Mayor Roach, for being here again today. And of course, Colonel Allman. And I see a young gentleman right here in the third row, our Korean War veteran here wearing his combat infantry badge that I met on Wednesday. Scott Air Force Base put on a program for our local Korean War veterans, sponsored by the Korean American Association of Scott area. Great event. And that fine young man right there is in the crowd. So great to see you again, sir. Good to see you. Glad you could make it. Yes, sir. And then Mr. Cliff, the World War II veteran here, it's 100 years old. Amazing. God, if I live to be near 100 and look as good as he does and can still drive, I have a hard time driving now. So it's amazing. So thank you, sir, for being here, and thank you for your service. That's awesome. Obviously, we are here today to pay tribute to our American veterans for the devotion, patriotism, selfless service, and sacrifice on behalf of all of us. So today, we're here to thank them all. But before I start, I want to start with a one-question quiz. And we'll come back to the answer when I finish. But that beautiful version of the national anthem that our fifth graders just sang here a few moments ago, my question is, what is the punctuation mark at the end of the last verse? Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave, both the land of the free and home of the brave. So think about it as you're sitting there, as I go through my remarks, and we'll come back. We'll talk about the answer, okay, at the end. So, on the early morning hours of April 19th, 1775, about 5 a.m., Lexington, Massachusetts, 77 local militia from Lexington had assembled at what was known as Lexington Green, a small open space there in the community of Lexington. They'd spent the previous night waiting in Buckman's Tavern for the arrival of the British regular forces. The previous night, the militia and locals had been warned by Paul Revere, William Dawes, Sam Prescott, from their ride from Boston to Lexington, that the British regulars were coming in force to confiscate weapons, munitions, powder stored by the rebels, and to arrest Sam Adams and John Hancock. So they waited all night in the tavern, and about 5 a.m., 400 British regulars appear. 400 of the best trained, best equipped, best disciplined soldiers in the world. And facing them were 77 local militia from Lexington, farmers, blacksmiths, shopkeepers, and they were led by a 44-year-old French and Indian War veteran, Captain John Parker. Now, John Parker was dying of tuberculosis. He'd be dead in about 3 years, he'd be gone. His voice is very hoarse, had a hard time speaking. So as the regulars approached, of course, the militia, they're young and inexperienced, they're getting nervous, getting edgy. Besides, they're facing 400 professional soldiers. And as the British approached, Captain Parker gave his orders. He said, "Stand your ground. Don't fire unless fired upon. But if it's war that they want, then let it start here." Of course, a moment later, that first shot, as famously goes, the shot heard around the world was fired. Nobody still knows where it came from. Many different theories of who fired it. But in the end of that skirmish, 8 militiamen were killed, including Captain Parker's cousin, and 10 wounded. So these few militia who stood up to those many, many British regulars were our first American veterans. Like I said, farmers, shopkeepers, blacksmiths, facing the best trained army in the world in defense of an idea of self-government. Since then, generations of Americans have stood on Lexington Green in times of both war and peace, protecting that right of self-government, proving that freedom is not free. So Colin Powell, General Powell, who I admire greatly, once said that the nation owes a great debt to its veterans, whose service to the nation spans every decade, every year of our country's existence. Through untold courage and sacrifice, American veterans have secured the liberty which the Founding Fathers sought to establish here in the New World. Whenever and wherever the nation has called in times of darkness and danger, as well as peace and prosperity, America's veterans have been there. Veterans have proudly carried the torch of liberty for all to see. Today, we celebrate Veterans Day to recognize and honor the service, sacrifice, and commitment of all who have served our great nation with honor and distinction. We pause to express our gratitude for our veterans and to their families as well, and I'll talk about families here a little later. So, as the Colonel mentioned, for nearly a century now, we have observed Veterans Day on the anniversary of Armistice Day, which originally was Armistice Day, that ended the fighting along the Western Front in World War I in 1918, November 11th. In 1938, Congress made Armistice Day an official annual holiday, and in 1954, Congress passed a bill to change the word armistice to Veterans Day, as it remains today. So, in the coming year, we'll be celebrating and recognizing 2 key 50th anniversaries that are key to both the history of our veterans and our nation. And the first one I want to mention is Operation Homecoming, which occurred from Korea. Some of you may know that that was the return of the Vietnam prisoners of war that had been held in North Vietnam. Some of them held for almost 10 years in horrendous, torturous conditions. Unlike previous wars, this one, Vietnam, became up close and personal to those at home who watched the news coverage of the war on television every evening, something that was not readily available. And with that coverage, opinions at home increasingly became divisive. 9 million Americans served in Vietnam. Today, 6 million Vietnam veterans are still living. So if you served in Vietnam, thank you from our nation and from me personally for your service and your sacrifice. You're our inspiration to those who serve today. Where are we? How many Vietnam veterans we got here today? Great. Thank you for being, welcome home, and thank you. The other 50th anniversary I want to mention is the 50th anniversary of the end of the federal draft and the anniversary of the all-volunteer force. So since 1973, these volunteers, all volunteers, just as those first volunteers on Lexington Green had defended this nation in times of war and peace, the Cold War, Lebanon, Grenada, Desert Storm, Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria, and countless other contingency operations. Most recently, this all-volunteer force, in a mere 17 days last August, led by U.S. Transcom, I had to say that, evacuated over 120,000 non-combatants from Afghanistan to places of security and prosperity, including right here in the United States. In February, we began sending much-needed supplies to Ukraine by air and by sea after Russia's unprovoked attack, and we are doing so still today. In May, our military supported families across America by delivering critically needed baby formula through families throughout the U.S. during the supply chain and manufacturing crisis. So we never know what our mission is going to be, right? As a nation, we must ensure that the service of these veterans, sacrifices of veterans, is never overlooked or forgotten. So regardless of the military branch in which our veterans have served, Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard, and now Space Force, this day belongs to you, to them. Generations of American patriots, beginning with those few militia in Lexington Green, have dedicated themselves to the defense of our country to make us stronger and more resilient as a nation. I mentioned our families earlier, so I'd be remiss if I didn't acknowledge our military families here. Another great General Powell quote is, "The strength of our nation is our military, and the strength of our military is our service members, and the strength of our service members is our families. We cannot do it without them. I know I would not be here without the love and support of my own family, Stephanie, my wife Stephanie right here, who we've been together for 28 years. We've been married for 26 years, and absolutely would never be here without her, so thank you, honey. And thank you to all our military families. You know, it takes a special person to be a military spouse, and I know I'm preaching to the choir for many in this audience, but I'm telling you, it's a fact. And we couldn't do it without you, so thank you to you all. So, before I finish, get back to my question, right? So, what is the punctuation mark at the end of that last verse of the national anthem? Who knows the answer? Yes, ma'am. Sorry, no. Yes, sir. Question mark. Outstanding. Great answer. I think his dad might have gave him some help. Who was here last day? But anyways, I bring that up because it is a question mark. And when Francis Scott Key wrote that, when he was watching, right, the Battle of Fort McHenry, and our national colors were waving, and the bombs bursting in air, and the holes in the flag, and the smoke, and the fire, and the fight, he was asking a question. Will that flag wave? Does it still wave? And it does. After 250 years, it does. And it still waves because of our veterans. Nobody else but our veterans and their families. So thank you for that. You, our veterans, are why we are free today. So we can never forget that, and that's why I'm so proud to honor you all on Veterans Day. So thank you again. Thanks for inviting me here today, again this year. And to you and our veterans and your families, thank you for your service. God bless America, and God bless our veterans. Thank you.
General Barker, love your messages. Thanks again for coming out again this year and delivering that inspirational message to our veterans and our families, no Fallon. We really appreciate you, and we do appreciate Steffi coming out also. I got to see her yesterday downtown St. Louis, so it's great to have you back with us. Ladies and gentlemen, please remain seated for the placement of the wreath by the OTHS Air Force Junior ROTC. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the rifle volley by VFW Post 805, taps by Carson Schmeckel and Elias Gregory, and bagpipes by Miss Laurie Hartung. Wasn't that awesome? How about a round of applause for all these people? Please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, thanks so much to each of you for taking the time today to honor our great American veterans. This ceremony acknowledges the sacrifices our service members have given on behalf of our great country and their families. As you leave here today, know that your very presence at this ceremony has honored those whose names are inscribed on our Veterans Monument. For many of the young Americans here today, you are learning some valuable lessons about how great our country really is and how we as a Christian nation respect and honor our military veterans who have served this great nation. When you become adults, hopefully you too will bring your children and grandchildren to ceremonies just like this. So thanks once again for taking the time. May God bless each and every one of you here today, and may God continue to bless our O'Fallon community, our military men and women, our veteran heroes, and this great country we are so privileged to live in. Enjoy the day. Thank you.
He has loosed the faithful lightning of
Oh, hey, baby, do you want a picture of us?